Welcome to Cash Flow, Savannah. Chandler, how you doing?
I am doing good. We are staying busy at Sid was here, so busy is good.
Busy
What
is
about you?
great.
Busy is awesome. How about you? How are you doing?
I'm good. I've been rolling. Sid was here, has been busy, been picking up on the agent side. I have to say, though, on the agent side, we've got a lot under contract. I'm excited about that, but it's like I'm frustrated and it's not anyone's fault or anything, but getting a house under contract is so exciting for myself and the buyer, but taking it to the end is so much work. It's unbelievable sometimes how hard it is. You just feel like you have to climb, seven mountains. So really, that's where it's tough being a buyer's agent. I've got one situation where the selling agent is horrendous and it just creates such a mess for everyone. They keep going, I don't know, you deal with it. That I've been told that about 16 different times. And I'm like, don't you want to sell the house? Like I'm trying to, I'm kind of frustrated. And I'm always trying to, get it done for my buyer. But
Mm.
sometimes, man, it's tough.
What are some of the roadblocks you're running into?
Well, we have a situation. One of them is, it appears that the house isn't to code, even though they're saying, oh, yes, it is, that the foundation has been inspected. Here's the certificate, not the certificate number, but the inspection certificate number. I don't know how you call it. And I'm like, well, we want to see where it passed inspection because they said, oh, yeah, the foundation's been inspected. It passed. Okay, well, show us the paperwork. Go look it up at the courthouse. That's what they tell me.
Mm.
It's like, well, thanks. That's that's wonderful. Like it's just been a lot of roadblocks like that, and just little things like that, just getting it to the finish line where you're trying to protect your buyer. And if they'll just help you a little bit, you can work as a team and get it done.
Yeah,
You're getting no help from the other side. And I mean, this is a very large purchase. This is not a $20 purchase. This is a $250,000 purchase. And I flat out told my buyer today, I said, they need to come with this condition or I really am going to advise you to walk. And does that affect my commission? That means I don't get paid for anything. But that's okay because I need, I got to protect this buyer, and we have several going on like that. So it's been a bit of a week, like just kind of dumb stuff like that, where you're just like,
yeah.
really? And then we had a situation I think was interesting. I definitely am not going to disclose names, but because probably people listen, but again, we had requested work to be done before closing and the seller agreed, but then the agent's kind of, again, not very helpful. This is a different agent. And he's like, it'll be done. They're not even going to start on it until 2 weeks before closing. And my buyer's like, why? Like I've had to go back a few times, to do measurements and things like that. They have not even started on the work yet. And we're getting down to the wire. And this upsets my buyer, which I understand, but I'm not the one doing the work. So I keep asking the guy, and he keeps telling me to leave him alone. And so finally last night, this agent got frustrated with me checking in because I'm doing my job. And he said, they're going to do it last minute because they can't pay the guy doing the work until closing. And the guy doing the work isn't going to wait 2 weeks to get paid. And so the buyer and I are both like, oh, like now we understand why you're waiting to do the work. But his bank has given him trouble because now it's in the contract, all the work that has to be done. And so we've just been so confused. And I just wish he could have just communicated that from the beginning so that it didn't create this. Why are they waiting so long? Why aren't they doing anything? It's not even that much work, So there are a lot of buyers, though. I have to say, these flippers, they do everything on hard money. And then we come in after the house has been sitting and we make them, a lowball offer, which I love. So they're kind of at their bottom line. And I understand that, but I just wish they'd communicated a little bit better. It would make the transaction a little bit easier
Yeah.
for the buyer because you're like, what's going on? I don't get it. And I'm like, I don't either. Anyway, I hope all of that made sense. I'm trying to be
No, no, that makes sense. But if you would have just communicated that 2 weeks,
exactly.
it would have been, you wouldn't have to bother.
Exactly. Now I understand the seller's in financial straits. He doesn't have the money to pay this guy to paint light switches and change out a couple of, GFCI outlets. I get it now. I'm going to
Yeah.
leave it alone. But before it was like, are they going to do it? Like, how do we plan? So
Yeah. And those were the flippers.
I believe, yeah, it appears to be a flip. I mean, it's everything's been redone. It's a nice house. I'm very happy for my buyer, honestly. It's a good deal,
Yeah.
but it's just tough to when I can work with solid agents, it's such a easy process. But when you have someone that, really doesn't want you to talk to them ever, they just want to get a check, it just makes the process so difficult. So
Yeah,
anyway.
no, I get what you're saying. No, it's communication is key, especially when you're working with like out of state people.
Absolutely. I have to have their back,
Yeah,
it's important to me that they're comfortable.
for
Um,
sure. So we work with out of state. Well, I'm working with out of state people too, and it's things can get confusing because you're kind of like you got one person doing this, and one person doing this, so you kind of just got to keep them up to date.
right.
And you got cleaners coming in. Cleaners can come in too early. Now you're just like spending. You, just, you got two cleans because somebody was supposed to be finished and it wasn't. So yeah, but yeah, that's
Yeah,
communication.
you're working with some owners right now to finish up some properties, right? Chandler, tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah, so some owners come in and they're just like, oh, like because furnishing a house is not easy by any means, and
It's not quick. It doesn't take 2 days. It takes
no, it's it,
14.
it's not, and then some. I kind of like when we're able to get in there because we can say, hey, this is what's working, this is what looks good, this is what I would recommend because we see a lot of houses and we know what works, and I always like getting on the phone with them and saying, hey, like I think this would work better, or like having this would work better, and so yeah, we got a couple. We just finished one that our decorator gets in there and she finishes it up the project, and we got one underway right now. The owner's in New York, so he has no idea what's going on, and well, he has an idea what's going on with us. We communicate with him, but I like doing it because most so I hate to say it, some people just don't have taste, and what they think looks good doesn't work with Airbnb. I hate to say it, but that's just the way it is, and I kind of like being saying, hey, like this doesn't look good. Like I'm sorry you're a dude and you think these black pillows and this black duvet looks good, and I'm just like, no, let's change this out to all white, and then we'll add color on the walls, blah blah blah. And it's so nice to be able to do that. But yeah, we help some owners get in because it's a long process. It's not easy
Right.
trying to put a basically a themed house together so where everything ties in and it looks really good. Where most people kind of just like they'll have like two different couches and just it's kind of a mess. But yeah, no, I enjoy it, and so yeah, we've been getting a couple owners to do that, and
That's great.
on the finish line.
Yes, it's fun. We're able to take investors through the sale and then through, if they need us, through the decor process. And you're kind of the finisher guy on that, your team really. And then we can manage. And it's exciting what's going on here. I'm really proud of the work we're doing. And I appreciate what you're doing, Chandler. You're great at getting in these houses. And you're also setting up their maintenance plan too, because we've got to keep these houses up. And I know that's a big part of your job. And you do great at keeping it just really in tip top shape.
Yeah, no, that's the thing that most people don't think about is like the preventative maintenance.
Yes.
Nobody thinks about that, and some owners don't really want to listen, and they're like, "Oh no, we'll just wait until it actually breaks." And now you're spending a couple $1,000, and I'm like, let's just be preventative and like spend a couple bucks a month, and you won't ever have to really deal with this crazy big expense.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, no, for listeners, I always recommend just like have AC people come out and check it
Yes.
every even 6 months, maybe a year if you don't want to spend. But I think in the long run, it saves you money. Just those big ticket items, have people come out and check. Like, I think it saves a ton of money in the long run.
Yep. Flush the water heaters out. Check the ACs every 6 months, because if the AC goes down, the owner is on the hook for obviously at the whatever it costs to repair the AC. But if there's a guest inside, they're either going to leave. It depends on how long it's down for. But I'm saying, let's say it's a big repair, it's a 2-3 day repair. which is possible, they're either going to leave or you're going to refund them some serious money because they are now extremely uncomfortable. So now your repair has gone from maybe $1,000 repair to a $2,000 to $4,000 to $5,000 repair. We had a $13,000 booking yesterday or the day before on one of our houses. Imagine if, 20 days in, the guest moves out and the owner loses the rest of that revenue because of an issue with the house. So if we can keep the house in good standing, your guest there's no complaint, there's no refund, there's no repair later. Like, oh, I can't even say it strongly enough. As property managers, we try so hard, and we're not here to spend people's money. We're here to save them money in the long, like you said.
At first it sounds like we're trying to get them to spend money, but it's not really us we're just being preventative. So
it every day where they lost money because they didn't do the preventative maintenance. We see it every day.
We sure do. And what else are we seeing? I'm seeing a lot of stuff going on with regulations.
We've had some drama, Chandler, as you very well know. I want to talk about two different cities today. And if you're familiar with the Savannah area, you know both of them. The first one is Pooler, Georgia. Pooler, we absolutely manage in. We love Pooler. I own a few in Pooler and manage there. And Pooler was the first 5-alarm fire. March 19, they had a big open forum for anyone that wanted to come. And I went, and I really have to say, I can't give it enough to the city of Pooler. I expected it to be a ton of drama, a ton of yelling. I've been to these things before, and that is why I say that. And it was the best run meeting I've ever been to. People were actually clapping after every person that spoke, whether they were for or against. It was very respectful and like, okay, and I clapped louder for some and I air clapped for others, but I was respectful, as was the whole room. And so Pooler, a lot of people have been flocking to Pooler, and I have pushed people towards Pooler because, number one, it's a great market. It's located on the west side of Savannah. It's near all the industry, all the incoming industry. And, we're always full. Do we ever have much vacancy in Pooler? I don't think we do.
Never. Just to give you an idea of how Pooler is right now, an agent texted me the other day. And they're like, hey, Savannah's getting out of hand with just priceability. Mm-hmm. Like, it's just too expensive. They're like, hey, what do you recommend that's like a little bit lower price range that'll work well? And I said Pooler. Like, it was no second thought. I was like, Pooler out. And Pooler's doing well.
Pooler's doing really well. So, but because of all the short-term rentals going in the city, we do have one small part of Pooler that's angry. And it's basically one street, one neighborhood. They're angry. And so the ruckus got louder, and so they called this in. Well, by the time they had the meeting, they had already drafted their short-term rental ordinances. So they're working to finalize them now. But what they wanted was people to come in and give feedback on short-term rentals in the area. So I was actually expecting a brawl, and may I say I made the news. We put it on social media. Shockingly, they took about 10 seconds of what I said and put it on there. So that was cool. But interesting to me is that this is my call on it. This is not, research necessarily, but there were more people in the room that spoke that were for short-term rentals than there were that spoke against short-term rentals. I was very shocked at the positivity in the room. And the people that are in the neighborhood there were two that were just extremely angry, and that I expected the whole room to be like those guys, but I only counted two at least that spoke. They really never gave any specific horrible thing that had happened. They just wanted to talk about how short-term rental guests are not background checked. Maybe they're axe murderers and child molesters and, all of the worst case scenarios. But it was a lot more drama than it was fact. That is my opinion, and I'm sticking with it. But a lot of people, including myself, stood up and talked about what a great asset class it is and what a blessing it had been in their lives to have these properties as short-term rentals. And, the thing I talked about was property rights. And I said, look, this is my property, and I should have the right to do with it as I wish. And everyone wants to talk about how a short-term rental is a business. No, it's not. I've got an R1 residential home, and I'm putting people in there to reside and to sleep. I'm not running an Amazon warehouse out of that house, Mm-hmm. So I really disagree when people go on about ruining a neighborhood with a business when probably half the neighborhood is working from home. Well, okay, how do you handle that? And that actually got brought up in the meeting by others, but the regulations are here. They have a 6-month moratorium. So right now, if you have a short-term rental in Pooler or you want to have a short-term rental in Pooler, the time to apply for that certificate is literally right now. They're not going to stop anyone from doing short-term rentals, but after they've put in the law and they, the certificate process is in place, you're going to be kind of out of luck. So for me, the two that I have personally, we run them really as more medium-term rentals or executive rentals, and they do very well. I don't know that I'm going to do a short-term rental license on them just because I've had them for years, and very rarely have we ever even rented them short-term. Part of the regulation, I understand the regulations and I'm not opposed to it, but I'm looking at it as an investor. And part of the certification process is you have to submit your homeowner's insurance, and it has to show on there that they recognize that it's being used for short-term rentals. Well, I happen to know that that really makes your insurance go up quite heavily. And so knowing that I typically rent them as more executive rentals anyway, I'm like, I don't know if I want to let that cut into my return on investment. So I'm kind of weighing that right now. I have a little bit of time and I'm looking at it. I know it would make my properties more valuable to get that certificate, but I don't know that I really like running them as executive rentals. So I'm thinking it through.
Yeah, I wonder if you can just have that license and not. You said you have to put it on.
No,
Or,
30 days or more, you don't need a license.
yeah, but what if you just get the license and then just run it as a medium term?
I can do that, but my hesitation is the insurance, knowing
Yeah,
to go and make my insurance go way up when I know that I probably won't even be running it as a short-term rental, except for maybe a few times a year.
yeah, yeah.
Is it worth it? That I have to do that math, and I just haven't sat down and figured that out yet.
Hmm.
So I don't know. Part of me wants to just go ahead and get the certificate, like you said, just to have it, and part of me is like, so we'll see. I have a
Yeah.
little bit of time, so I'm thinking about it. Have you heard much about that meeting, Chandler? What have you heard?
Um, no, I heard some people talk about it, and there wasn't really any major like, oh, we're just can't have short term rentals anymore. So it wasn't that big of a deal.
Right.
I was kind of, all right, well, I'll go get certificate and bada bing, bada boom. Now Tybee Island, which we'll get to in a sec, is a totally different. That's going to be a war.
I
Once people start finding out about that, it's going to be, ugh.
Yeah, you and I think both our heads exploded the other day when we were on Tybee. And there's a lot. Talk about what's going on Tybee right now, Chandler.
So Tybee Island, what they're doing, so they've already had regulations
Yes.
put in place, and people were not happy about that one,
Right.
right? Like people were just, I know some big dogs were like, nah,
Lawsuits over their
yeah.
regulations already.
And so basically, they're not making any more short-term rental certificates. You either have one or you don't. If you buy a property, you can't get one. Um, so people were mad about that, and like you don't mind it, like because it's getting saturated already, and people that live there. I mean, because Tybee is, I don't know the numbers, but it's probably what 75% short-term. I mean, it's every street you're on, you just see short-term rental, short-term rental, short-term rental. Um, so now we just got word so this week actually,
We
they have in place if you sell your,
Not yet, but they're about to sign it.
yeah, they have something in place that they're about to sign. If you sell a short-term rental, you now lose that short-term rental license and cannot get another one. You're not grandfathered in basically like you used to be.
Right.
So that's a totally different story than being grandfathered in. You could just go buy one with the short-term rentals, but now you sell your property, it's gone. And that is kind of crazy because I mean, that might force some people they have to keep that property forever. Like,
Right. I've never seen it before. Now, I want to clarify, it's just for R1, it's just for residential zoning. So if you own a condo and that condo is zoned commercial, you're okay. You can sell it. to anyone you want, and the certificate remains in place. But yeah, so they have a new city council, and Tybee has had some issues, and it's in my opinion, none of them are to do with short-term rentals. They have this thing called Orange Crush that comes through and just devastates the island every year, and that has nothing to do with short-term rentals. That's some kind of a promotion, but yeah, if they basically want less and less short-term rentals in residential areas because the city council is very anti short-term rentals, and they want to make it more of a bedroom community again and less of a vacation community. But yet the whole island's, ecosystem is tourism. So I'm kind of shocked. But basically what they're saying is if the property changes ownership, they knew that the short-term rental certificate is immediately canceled. And even if it's a situation where, let's say someone is married, John and Jane Smith are married and they divorce and they want to move the property into Jane Smith's name, she's going to lose that certificate, so that it's very brutal. And I feel for the buyers that have paid an extra 20-30% in value, in Tybee, to get that short-term rental certificate with the house, and they can never sell. Like you said, they're stuck with it.
Yeah, no, that really shocked me. I'm not sure how this is even allowed, really.
You're gonna have more lawsuits, I'll tell you that.
It will. I bet some of the big dogs that we know that manage a ton will be in Tybee.
Oh, Lance.
Like,
there are some deep pockets suing Tybee Island already over the regulations they put in 2 years ago. And I can't imagine, I'm sure they're going to get sued again, and they just don't seem to care.
Yeah. So this is the question that pops in my head.
Okay.
And I want to ask, so all investors, they say, hey, invest in red states and not blue states. Is Tybee considered like a blue city? Is that like...
That's a good question. Because like COVID, for example, I'm going to tie this in. COVID, it was, lockdown or whatever. Well, what did we do? We started going to the beach because my kids are dying to see their friends. I had to get out of the house. You want to get outside. So everybody started going to the beach. And I'm not talking visitors from Detroit at the beach. It was like literally one day we went to the beach during COVID, and I knew 80 people, which I've never bumped into that many people I know, and so for some reason, the people in politics on Tybee, I would agree, they're very anti-fun, I guess. And so they tried to shut down the beach, and the governor of Georgia, Kemp, can't think of his first name, Brian Kemp, sorry, Governor Kemp. He said, absolutely not. You are not shutting down the beach. I disagree. And so what Tybee did, just to be jerks, is they said, well, fine, it's open, but it's only open for exercise. Did you go down there during this, Chandler?
No, I didn't.
I did. We went to the beach a lot. They said it was only for exercise. So after, they just didn't want us there. And so if you went to Tybee during COVID, after they did all this, you had to keep moving. You could not sit still on the beach because you were not exercising. Yeah. So they're definitely very there's some of honestly, I think it's a very small amount of the population, but they've managed to get into the government down there, and they're just, I don't know. I've never seen anything like it.
Yeah, no, because it sounds like, I don't know, I think who they vote for is important down there. What sucks is maybe the people they vote for, like the residential people that live there, they're fine. But for out-of-state investors, they can't vote there, so it's not helping them at all.
Right. And that's tough. I want to look at the flip side to this, though. And again, I can't spend time stressing about what I can't control. I cannot control Tybee Island. You can't control, we're property managers there. We manage a good bit of properties. We're picking up more every week, and we do a really good job, and I'm proud of that. And so for our owners, the positive is that if they keep the property, there's going to be less and less competition every year, arguably, because, things are going to change hands. And so that's going to really help that, average daily rate is going to keep going up. So there'll be less and less short-term rentals out there, which means it's the guys that remain are going to do very well. What are your thoughts on that, Chandler?
Yeah, no, obviously, yeah. I mean, because like you said, it's getting saturated, and like obviously, yeah, you're gonna get more bookings with the less, like the more demand there is and less supply, like you're gonna do better. So that's I like how you always look at the good side. So it's always find the good in something and roll with it, and that's what you're gonna have to do. So, and maybe along the road while you have it, some laws get changed, and you can finally sell your property.
Yeah.
But
As an investor, it's very scary though. I do think this is going to tank, not tank, but it's going to reduce property values because if you can't make any money off of it, you're not going to be able to pay as much. I'm sorry, but that's just math. Um, but I have to say, when they put in the regulations, I'm going to say 2 or 3 years ago, I can't remember what year it was. And I had been managing, and for a long time when Sid was here, I was the customer service team. I mean, I had some help, but a lot of times I was the one answering the phone. And at one of the properties that we managed, I would take the call from the next door neighbor, and she was a nurse, and the patio on the house is literally right up next to the neighbor's house. And people love to sit on that patio and talk and drink wine. And I'm not saying there was ever a party, because there wasn't, but there were nights when she would call me and be like, they're out there talking. It's 2 a.m. I'm a teacher. I need to get up at 5 a.m. tomorrow. Like, she's frustrated. And I understood it, and I felt bad. But I'm thinking at the same time, I'm like, lady, you moved to a beach community, like, it's cool to live near the beach, but then you also have to expect that there's going to be some tourism. So when they did stop allowing new certificates, I actually supported it, because I was like, I get that they want to keep it a bedroom community as well as a vacation market. And same for the historic district. That's why they put the regulations there years ago. They said, we still want people to live here. So we're going to limit the amount of, vacation rentals to 20% of the residential space. So, yeah.
I get it. I just think about when you go on vacation though. Like, shoot, I stay up later than normal. I'm outside, like like no one goes to sleep at a normal time on vacation. So yeah, no, I get that, and I hate it for the owners out there. But I guess when buying a house, you kind of just got to do your due diligence on that. But as far as property, like values going down, it's got to go down, because who wants to buy a house there now? Like, not many people now. Like, the only people that really were buying out there were investors that wanted a short term rental.
Right.
And then I guess you get your occasional person that will buy and live there. But yeah, it's going to be super interesting to see what goes down.
Yeah, we need to track the values. And, this comes down to the fact, as investors, I mean, we've been working together a long time, Chandler. Not one year has been the same as the last, right? Some years you're killing it, some years you're starving. And I own multiple different asset classes. I've been doing this for years, and you have to buy right, and you're going to ride the market. And when you buy what's going on in the market the day you buy, it's not going to stay the same that day. So you have to kind of be ready for that. I never saw this coming, to be honest with you. I've never seen a city like rescind, something like that. But that's where you have to go in it with eyes wide open and have multiple exit strategies and go, okay, I'm expecting the numbers to be this. If they're higher, great. If they're lower, I'm still going to be okay. And if regulations come, I'll be okay. Honestly, Chandler, this might be a huge opportunity for investors to get in, buy a house at a discount, and then rent it out, as a long-term rental. What if you could get a house on Tybee that's a long-term rental? And then what if 2-3 years from now they change again, and then you can short-term rental? That's the thing. Like, things that can go away can also come back. So I just encourage everyone to think outside the box. Don't think things are going to stay the same no matter what it is. And maybe there's a huge opportunity here. I just want to put that out there.
There could be, and somebody's going to find it. That's the thing. There's always an opportunity when things like this come up. There's always, and it's kind of the first person that finds it does the best. But yeah, no, I'm kind of shocked with it. But yeah, I always try to look at the good. Like, maybe somebody that has a short term rental out there, like, you know what, I'm going to get more bookings, and I'm just going to hold through this.
Yeah.
And don't panic sell. I wouldn't panic sell. That's probably the worst thing you can do.
Here's my other advice. I have a spreadsheet right now that I track every licensed short-term rental on Tybee. I have on a spreadsheet. I have the list, but I'm saying everything that's for sale, I have it. Everything that's for sale in Savannah that's licensed, I have that too. And I was watching this list grow. And I was like, what's going on? The ordinance, I mean, the change in the ordinance is not in place yet. I called the city myself. They don't know when they're going to sign or if it's for sure going to sign, but there is fear in the market like you would not believe. There's a fire sale going on Tybee. And I've been telling my clients, I'm like, boy, I've been watching prices drop. So we're going to look at this from an investor side. I see an opportunity. And if you could get a house under contract today, Chandler, and you put in the special stipulations, we're going to close in 30 days and this property will only close if the certificate transfers. So if you can get that property closed now before they sign it into law, you now have a licensed short-term rental on Tybee that they're not going to yank away from you unless you change names, right? So you could potentially get in today with a great value and then be the guy standing as other ones sell out and leave. There is an opportunity. You're also going to get a nice discount on it because nobody can sell on Tybee right now. So the opportunity might be today.
Yeah, no, I thought about that. It's like, you just better get it now and
exactly
get the certificate before it actually happens. And then I guess you would just be in a situation where you know you're going to hold that property for a long time, just in case something doesn't change.
Well, here's the other thing we talked about the other day, Chandler. I think we talked about this. What if you and I bought a beachfront house on Tybee for 30% off today? I think we probably could. And partners on it, and we open Julie and Chandler LLC and we get the certificate. Well, what if 5 years from now we sell the LLC to another buyer so the ownership on the certificate doesn't change? So just don't put it in your name, put it in a company name that you can sell the shares of. I'm just saying, for someone that thinks outside the box and sees an opportunity.
Yeah, there's always something that people find a way around some things. So there will be something that pops up and they'll figure it out from there. So
absolutely. There's always a way to make money in an up market or a down market. There are people making money. So we always want to be, and we want
probably the time to make the most money right now. When there's fear, this is when you make money. So
exactly what I'm saying. So that is our high note to end our show on. Don't be sad, be glad. Right, Chandler?
There you go. That's a good note to end on. Don't be sad, be glad. A little corny, but we'll do it.
I want everyone to know we are not going anywhere. We're a part of this market. We're going to ride it up. We're going to ride it down. And we're going to always try to give you guys other options on ways to do well in markets. That's our job as investors is to pivot. Every 5 minutes, pivot.
I like that. That's the name of the game, is pivot when you have to.
Yeah.
But we appreciate y'all listening today. Please like, comment, subscribe, share it to grandma and granddaddy. Get them into investing. I'm not sure. But we will see y'all in the next episode. Thank you.
Bye-bye.